welcome back. It is that time of the week where we start planning our next getaway. But after a turbulent few days for travel, we need to know what we're getting ourselves into. So joining us now for his pans and picks is CBS travel editor Peter Greenberg. So Peter, thanks so much for joining us. And where in the world are you joining us from today?
In beautiful 107-degree weather in Las Vegas. Nothing better than being in Las Vegas in August.
I mean, as somebody who used to live in Las Vegas, I know I can sense the sarcasm, and the sarcasm is real because 107 degrees, not fun. And that's at, 6 o'clock in the morning their time right now, so not good. All right, so we've been obviously covering the Boeing door panel blowout all year. We've asked you all year about this, and after more than 7 months of investigation, over 9 hours of hearings last week, we still do not know how a plane missing 4 bolts was delivered to Alaska Airlines. So if Boeing and the federal government cannot follow the paper trail to really put a pin on this whole ordeal, do you worry that this could happen again? And is there anything from those hearings that surprised you last week?
Well, we certainly know what didn't happen, and that's part of the NTSB investigation into determining the probable cause, which they do after every airplane accident, and this is still qualified as an accident, even though nobody thankfully died. But in this particular situation back in January, it's a question of manufacturing defects, installation defects, and most importantly, oversight defects. And then there's an additional aspect to this investigation that came out in the hearings, and that is, what did Alaska Airlines know about the condition of this plane? Did they receive pressure warning signals in the cockpit on this particular aircraft on the day before or 2 days before this incident happened, in which Alaska Airlines determined that those pressure warning signals didn't need to be addressed, and maybe that the plane was still certified to fly? There's another problem there in the link in the chain. So right now it all gets back to the FAA. It all gets back to Boeing's oversight. And of course, one of the things we've already learned, and hopefully this will not continue, is that Boeing can no longer be allowed to certify its own planes.
Interesting. Moving on to that plane crash in Brazil last week. Officials in Brazil are still investigating that plane crash that killed more than 60 passengers near Sao Paulo. So experts have told the New York Times that the engine may have stalled and severe icing could have been a factor, but it could be months before we know more about this. So have you seen anything like this before? And I mean, we've seen so much video of the plane coming down, which also feels rare, but have you seen anything like this before?
In fact, I have, and guess where I saw it? In Chicago. This particular aircraft, the ATR-72, has a problem with icing. There was a notorious and deadly crash in Indiana a number of years ago involving an ATR-72, and as a result of that crash, when they realized the plane did not perform well in icing conditions, the airlines pulled all of their ATR-72s from the continental United States in any cold weather areas. And where did they move those ATRs initially? To the Caribbean and Puerto Rico. Here's a situation in Sao Paulo. Remember, their southern hemisphere, it's their winter now, where icing was reported at the very altitude this plane was flying. Now, it's important to note, we don't know the exact final determination of the probable cause. They did recover the 2 black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, and they're going to find out very quickly, because of the performance of the plane that's covered by those recorders, what really happened. But the preliminary circumstantial information that I have seems to indicate an icing situation.
Peter, let's move on to a slightly lighter topic. So this week on petergreenberg.com, you wrote about the best airport food. And now some of our producers typically go to the Chili's too in airports when they fly out of O'Hare, but you're a little more sophisticated than our producers. I actually usually hit Chili's too. But what are your top pans and picks for airport food?
Are you calling me more sophisticated than your producers? Oh my goodness. Okay.
Actually, the producers are saying that themselves, and they're fair. Yes, they wanted that in there. They're humble.
Well, let's start with the obvious. Airline food is an oxymoron. People don't eat airline food because they're hungry, they eat it because they're bored. And we don't really go to the airports to eat. We do it because we happen to be at the airports. There are good exceptions to airport food. You're not going to find them most in the United States. You're going to find them in Hamad International in Doha. Great dining experiences there. Same thing with Changi Airport in Singapore. And then you're dealing with other airports that do something special. For example, I look at airport sushi the way I look at gas station sushi, with one exception. the Haneda Airport in Tokyo because they really do it well. Atlanta's airport, believe it or not, in the United States has a number of great dining options as well. But again, let me preface all this by saying you don't really go to the airport to eat. You go to the airport to get through the airport to get somewhere else. But if you have to eat, understand that, take a look at that display box or that display counter at the airport venue. How long has that lettuce been sitting in that box? How long has that sandwich been sitting in the counter? And you know what? I'd rather just BYO and then wait till I get to where I'm going.
Right. Peter, really, really quick, ever go to Chili's?
No.
Okay. All right, that's CBS travel editor Peter Greenberg. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you soon again. Thank you and enjoy Las Vegas, even in the heat.